What is up, everybody? My name is Jeremy and welcome to the channel. And this is going to be my review and top standout moments for episode 7 of House of the Dragon. Now, this was a really good episode. It was probably my favorite episode of the season so far. It brought so many iconic moments of Fire and Blood to life on screen right there for the first time. And it's just really cool to see some of these things in live action and a very faithful adaptation of some of these things in live action. Things that we've been reading in Fire and Blood and even before that in The Princess and the Queen. Like, it's just cool to see all this stuff finally come to life on screen and in a very accurate way. For the most part, anyway. There was one really big book change towards the end of this episode that we'll get into later on, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. But starting things off, my first standout moment for the episode was the funeral for Lena Velaryon. Now, this was a really cool scene. They had a nice send-off for Lena. We know that the Targaryens like to cremate their dead. Obviously, they are, fire and blood. That is their house words, their motto. But the Velaryons are very much a seafaring people. So I really liked it how they kind of work that in, that the Velaryons commit their dead to the ocean like that. And they do it right there on Driftmark. So kind of their dead are kind of the foundation of the island of Driftmark, Ryan Condal was saying in the behind-the-scenes features, which I thought was really cool. Another thing that I thought was pretty cool was some of the behind-the-scenes features for this episode. Now, they filmed all of these Driftmark scenes all on location. It's this beautiful island called St. Michael's Mount in the middle of Cornwall, England. It's just perfect for kind of these medieval sets, and just about everything that you see, you would think would be green screen, especially in this episode for some of these Driftmark scenes. But just about everything you see in this episode is all practical, and it was all filmed on location, and that was really cool to see some of the behind-the-scenes features for this episode. I highly recommend people start to check out the little documentary featurettes that they release along with every episode on HBO Max. It offers some really cool behind-the-scenes features into every episode and how it's filmed. Another standout moment that I thought was pretty cool during this episode was we got one in particular shot that I think is the most dragons we've seen in a single frame yet. I counted 5 different dragons in one single shot. And one new, in particular, dragon that really stuck out to me right off the rip, and that was Aegon Targaryen's Sunfyre. Now, you don't get a really great close-up look of Sunfire, but if you pause and enhance, and if you look at the photos here, you can definitely tell that it is definitely Sunfire. It has the golden and pink color scheme that Sunfire has, so I'm really looking to seeing this dragon up close and personal. Sunfire is obviously Aegon II's dragon, and it is described as being the most beautiful of all of the Targaryen dragons, and it's involved in some major moments that are going to be happening on this show. So, really looking forward to getting a close-up look at Sunfire. Up next, we have the Claiming of Vargar. Now, this is one of the most iconic moments from the Fire and Blood novel, especially during the Dance of the Dragons portion of the Fire and Blood novel. Just the whole story of the Dance of the Dragons. Anytime I think back on it, there's a few moments that stand out, and one of them that stands out is the Claiming of Vargar by Aemond. Just the act of an 11-year-old boy bending a dragon like Vhagar to his will and being able to bond with it successfully is incredibly impressive in and of itself. So to see that come to life on screen, it was awesome, and I feel like they filmed it absolutely perfectly from start to finish. This was probably one of my favorite sequences of the show so far. It just looked really good. Some of the shots of Vhagar flying around looked absolutely gorgeous. It's just so cool to see an iconic dragon like Vhagar that we've read about for so many years come to life on screen like this, and I feel like they absolutely nailed this scene. Up next, we have the aftermath of the Claiming of Vargar. Now, Vhagar was Lena Velaryon's dragon for the better part of 10 years, and after she passed, her daughter Rhaena Targaryen was hoping to claim Vhagar for herself. Now, Rhaena and Baelor were both giving dragon eggs as children, but Rhaena's never hatched, as we saw in the previous episode. So when Aemond goes ahead and claims Vhagar for himself, they see it as him basically stealing her dragon, or stealing her right to claim the dragon at the very least. And a fight breaks out, which unfortunately ends with young Lucerys just slashing out young Aemond's eye. Which I must say was a pretty gnarly scene. And I gotta hand it to everyone involved here. Pulling off a convincing fight scene with child actors is definitely not the easiest of tasks. Anytime you have two child actors in a fight scene, it can come off kind of cheesy at times, but I gotta say, they really pulled this one off nicely. Up next, we have the confrontation between Alicent and Rhaenyra. Now, on one side, you got Alicent, who is upset that Aemond just lost his eye in a fight, and on the other side, you have Rhaenyra, who is upset that Aemond called her kids bastards. And in the middle, of course, you got Viserys, and I gotta say, I really do feel bad for Viserys in this scene. The guy is just absolutely falling apart at this point. He's lost an arm, like he's clearly on death's door. He doesn't have a lot of time left, and you can tell he just wants his family to get along, and he just wants the line to be secure when he finally passes away. And he can just see this rift between Alicent and Rhaenyra just get deeper and deeper and wider over the years, and you can just feel for the dude. All he wants is his family to get along, and it is just not happening. But after a little bit of bickering back and forth, Alicent calls for the eye of Lucerys Velaryon. She's on some eye for an eye type shit. And when Cole denies her this, she goes for Viserys' dagger herself and lunges at the kid, but luckily Rhaenyra steps in and kind of stops her. A little struggle ensues between the two, and Rhaenyra kind of goads Alicent into losing control of her anger, and Alicent ends up cutting Rhaenyra. And I get the feeling that's exactly what Rhaenyra wanted here in this moment. Maybe not to be cut exactly, but she wanted Alicent to lose control of her temper so Alicent would, essentially look bad in front of everybody. Because, Rhaenyra's not stupid. She knows that there's all these rumors surrounding her children about whether or not they're, really of Valyrian blood, and Alicent is always kind of raising those same questions. So if Rhaenyra can make Alicent out to look like the crazy one, that's only going to make Rhaenyra look better. So I feel like Rhaenyra definitely got what she wanted here in making Alicent lose control like that. Now, my next standout moment is one that is a pretty big change from the books. For the most part, this show has been pretty accurate to the source material of Fire and Blood, at least for the major points. They're hitting all the major story points pretty accurately. This was the first episode that I saw a pretty major book change. Now, obviously, we see Daemon talking with Carl Corey, and as an audience, we're led to believe that him and Rhaenyra are setting up Laenor to be killed, so Daemon and Rhaenyra can get married. And it's a little different in the books. In the books, Laenor does end up dying. He does get killed by Carl Corey in a fight. And in the books, Daemon is rumored to maybe have been involved. So it looked like the show was kind of maybe going that direction, that Daemon was hiring Carl to kill Laenor to get him out of the way. And then right at the end of the episode, we find out that Laenor isn't dead, that it was all one big ruse, that they kind of set it all up, and Daemon and Rhaenyra were even involved. Because at one point you see Daemon kind of snap the neck of one of the servants of House Velaryon to pass that dead body off as Laenor. So clearly they were all in on this ruse to try and fake Laenor's death so he could be out of the way so Daemon and Rhaenyra could get married. But this presents a problem for Laenor's dragon, Seasmoke. Now, in Fire and Blood, quick spoiler, but in Fire and Blood, after Laenor dies, his dragon ends up getting claimed later on in the story by another rider by the name of Adam Velaryon. And Adam has a pretty important part to play in one of the battles that is going to be taking place later on during the dance. So I'm wondering what's going to be going on there. Are they just going to give Adam Velaryon's part to Laenor, and maybe Laenor will just return at some point in the show later? Are they going to kill Laenor off in some other way, and then that'll free up Seasmoke to get claimed by Adam in that way? It opens up some questions, to say the least, because this is, like I said, this is the first big book change that the show has made. And as far as Laenor goes, I don't know how Laenor is going to go off and live in Essos and kind of hide his, Valyrian roots with a big dragon following him around everywhere. We know that the bond between rider and dragon is very strong, and I have to imagine Seasmoke is going to try and seek Laenor out wherever he is in the world at some point and probably end up finding him. So it just opens up a lot of questions, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do here. And last, of course, we have the Valerian Wedding between Daemon and Rhaenyra. After they manage to pull off their ruse and fake Laenor's death, it frees up Daemon and Rhaenyra to get married, and we see that happen right at the end of the episode. We get an old-school kind of Valerian ritual wedding, And we see Daemon and Rhaenyra basically bind themselves, and from here on out it's going to be Team Blacks versus Team Greens. The lines have clearly been drawn. There's kind of no going back at this point, and it's really only going to lead to war from this point on. And it's going to really get hairy. The Dance of the Dragons is right around the corner at this point. We have one more time jump that'll start at the beginning of this next episode, and then that'll be the final time jump. There'll be no more time jumps happening. It'll be a much more linear story from here on out. So these are going to be the definitive actors playing these characters from here on out, from this episode on. So looking forward to seeing the full definitive cast together for the first time in this episode. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic. And I think it's going to be good, because this show is going to look so different once the Dance of the Dragons actually starts and pops off. It's going to be an intense, bloody war show that is going to just be a very, very wild ride with a lot of ups and downs and a lot of deaths, dragons and human alike. And that is going to do it for my top standout moments for Episode 7 of House of the Dragon. And definitely let me know in the comments section below which parts are you looking forward to seeing most adapted from Fire and Blood, and which part do you think Season 1 will end on. Now, we have a few key moments of Fire and Blood that are coming up pretty soon, and there are 3 episodes left in the season, so I have a pretty good idea as to where I think the Season 1 is going to end, and I'm hoping it ends with the Battle of Shipbreaker Bay. It just seems like that would be a really good spot to end off on. It's a big holy shit moment from Fire and Blood, and it gives people a nice taste of the dragon battles that are going to be coming in the later seasons. So, yeah, Battle of Shipbreaker Bay, I would love to see Season 1 end right there, but let me know in the comment section, where do you think Season 1 is going to end off? And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming House of the Dragon content. And as always, thank you for watching. We will see you on the next one.